Hello again. Welcome back to my series about my experience with The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, a book about unblocking your creativity in many aspects of your life. My name is Grace, and I've been creatively blocked for several years, but this program has already helped me immeasurably make a lot of progress in my creative blocks. Here we are on week 9 of creative recovery. I took a 1-week break because I was traveling and unable to really focus on the course, and I needed some time to decompress after the trip. I was also a bit rushed to get week 8's video out, so at this point I have a lot to talk about, and I did not spend a lot of time writing the script, so we'll see how this goes. Before I do the check-in for this week, let's talk about the tasks because I really thought they were pretty productive in this week. Reading the morning pages was a really cathartic process. It's awesome to see how much I've accomplished in a relatively short period of time. I've noticed through reading them that generally I expect to get a lot done very, very quickly. And it never happens in the time frame that I expect, but it does get done eventually. For example, I talked a lot about turning a big cardboard box that I got in the mail into a little house for my cat, like cutting a door and windows out of it. I think it took me about a month and a half to actually get around to it. Like I just did this past week. I put it off for a really long time, and for some reason it was just one of those projects that I just never really got to, except never is not exactly the right word because I did eventually get to it. Sometimes I think it takes longer than I expect to manifest some of these projects and actually make them happen. So that was a theme that I was noticing a lot, is that I am constantly wanting to get a lot more done than is physically possible sometimes. While I like that ambition, I feel like not accomplishing things in the time frame that I set out for myself can sometimes be discouraging. So that's something that I'm going to try and be more realistic with myself in the future. I'm honestly not even done reading them all because there are so many, and I continued to do morning pages even on last week, my week off, and I had morning pages written from even before I started taking the course seriously. So I've been trying to go through all of them and kind of pull out the nuggets that are really good that I've written for creative writing and like fiction stories and things like that. So it is a time-consuming process. I'm finding it easier than I expected to kind of separate myself from the feelings I had when I was writing them. There are a lot of entries that I wrote when I was in a bad mood, feeling in a bad place, and I feel like I was actually able to kind of look at them more objectively than I expected to. A lot of times when I go back through old journal entries, I find myself getting kind of locked into those feelings that I felt at the time, and it can kind of send me down this sort of spiral of rumination and put me in the same headspace that I was then. And I end up having a pretty unproductive afternoon if I do that, because I will just get kind of sad, like get locked in a nostalgia spiral almost. I'm not sure how else to describe it. But I found I wasn't doing that as much with these. Maybe it's because it was an assignment and I was approaching it that way. I was pretty happy with that outcome of things, and I will still be making my way through more of them as this week goes through, as week 10 progresses as well. I should have scripted this. Another one of the tasks that isn't explicitly on the task list, but it is presented to you right before she goes into the tasks. Blasting through blocks task is what I'm going to call it, where you list resentments and fears about a specific project that you have, and then you make a list of what you stand to gain from not doing this project. I feel really good about how this is going to affect my writing and a lot of my fears that I have around certain other goals that I'm trying to accomplish and that are taking more time than I would like, but it is what it is. That's what I just got done talking about. Another task she asks you to do is visualizing your goals and writing about them as if they have already happened in the present tense, and kind of put yourself in the headspace of what your life would actually look like if you have accomplished that goal, or you are in that identity. You have already ascended to to that, I can't stop looking at my cat in the background now. She asks you to hang that piece of writing up somewhere on your wall and read it to yourself every day. I have not admittedly done that, but I think writing it was really good for me to kind of solidify what I want to do, what kind of art I want to be making. I specifically did this for being a painter. Some of the other tasks that she asks you to do are list your creative goals for the year, which I really like. And again, even though these goals, I want to complete them as quickly as possible, it's already almost May. I don't know exactly how to get to all of them yet. I do think that they are possible, and I have kind of tempered my expectations a little bit with how big these goals are. Just for the year, I want to, keep it simple because I'm still learning, and be gentle with myself as I go. The last task is to address your creative U-turns that you've made in your life. I don't want to say this one is tough for me. It's very easy for me to pinpoint one very big creative U-turn for me, and that is not completing my portfolio prep class in college and deciding not to pursue graphic design when I was younger. Did I just say college? I meant to say high school. I should just re-record this whole thing. Anyway, that one really kills me because I remember not being able to complete all my pieces, feeling very burnt out. And I wish I had a journal to kind of confirm what I think I may have been going through at the time, and if that had any influence on my burnout and the reason that I wasn't able to complete the portfolio prep course. I ultimately wasn't able to show my art at the art show at the end of the year, and when I made my decision to drop portfolio prep and drop in the sense that it wouldn't affect my grade and I'd be okay and wouldn't suffer academically from it, I did end up suffering emotionally from it when I went and saw everyone else's art at the art show at the end of the year, and my booth, I didn't have a booth, and I wanted to be with my peers in that setting. I wanted to experience what they were experiencing, where they got to showcase their art, and that still makes me really sad that I didn't get to do that. I wish I could go back in time and talk to myself and be like, you know what, it's okay. Like, these last few pieces for your portfolio don't need to be perfect. Just get them out there, and trust me, you will be glad that you did, and you'll feel better. This is a temporary feeling that you're going through, and I know it's hard, but it's going to be okay, and I promise you that this is going to be worth putting the effort into. Anyway, that is probably my biggest creative U-turn that affected a lot more of my life going forward, because after that I was kind of aimless for a little bit, trying to figure out what major to take, and then I picked one that I thought would be aligned with my interests, and just, down the road it didn't really work out that way, and blah blah blah. I have already done some work on this prior to this program, on forgiving myself, understanding that I was going through a lot of difficult things at the time that weren't under my control, and I shouldn't beat myself up over not being able to complete that course. I do have a lot of fears about making creative U-turns now, especially that I am finally kind of have a focused goal and am really taking this seriously. In the past, I've kind of told myself I'm going to take it seriously, and then it just never manifests, so there's been a lot of tiny U-turns along the way as well. And I feel like if I make a U-turn now, it's going to be a really big one. So trying to avoid that is probably one of my biggest priorities right now. Even if it's a slow journey, I would rather take forever to get there than turn around and not try at all. All right, let me do the check-in now before I ramble way too long, which I already have. How many days this week did you do your morning pages? And regarding your U-turns, have you allowed yourself to shift towards compassion, at least on the page? Yes. In fact, I feel like in all of my morning pages, even the ones where I start to doubt myself, or like I'm never good enough, I'm never doing enough, I'm never busy enough, I'm never accomplishing enough, I'm not good enough for blah, 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 blah. Ultimately, the morning pages will end on a positive note of trying to pick myself back up and say, no, I believe in myself. Everything's going to be okay. I'm just going to keep trying. I am not going to quit. I don't think any of them have been completely negative to the point that I have wanted to give up. If that were the case, I probably would have stopped making these videos by now and stopped writing the morning pages altogether. So I do think I am on my way to compassion more and more, and it ebbs and flows, but I think I'm on the right track. I have found that doing them on my laptop does not necessarily eliminate the distractions that I sometimes come across when I do handwritten. A lot of times I will, have a thought and be like, oh, I should look that up, or I should order that for myself before I forget. I should see what other people, I'll get just caught up in looking at book reviews because I want to validate how I feel about a book and understand if, other people felt the same way. So doing them on the laptop is not a foolproof method to stay undistracted. It's a little late to learn that now, but here we are. Did you do your artist date this week, and have you kept the emphasis on fun? And what did you do? How did it feel? This week I went to the movies by myself in the afternoon. I went to go see The Legend of Ochi, which was a really cute film. It has the same producer as the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I also watched the week before. I loved both of those movies. The Legend of Ochi was very cute, emotional. I feel like I got unreasonably emotional during it. The movie reminds me of my relationship with animals and all the animals in my life and how we try to communicate with them. It kind of reminded me of a Wes Anderson film in all of its whimsy and things that don't necessarily make sense, but they don't need to. It's more about the vibes. So I really enjoyed that. After I went to the movies, I went and got a chicken shawarma sandwich downtown and went to the library and did some reading. I've been reading the book Sirena by Donna Jo Napoli, and it's really beautiful. I originally bought it because I wanted to read some writing that was written in present tense instead of past tense, and this had some good reviews. So I just sort of picked it up. It's about a mermaid who falls in love with a man, and there is a lot of Greek mythology references in it that I find really fun. All right. Did you experience any synchronicity this week, and what was it? I would say maybe the producer of that movie that I saw. I thought that was some pretty cool synchronicity because I had no idea. And Everything Everywhere All at Once came out 3 years ago, and I just decided to watch it a couple weeks ago, and then just decided that I would watch this movie this week. So I thought that was pretty cool. And some synchronicity that I think I missed in week 8 that I did not talk about is that I made a friend with my neighbor, and we ended up having a lot in common. And I really attribute that to kind of being more open and having more willingness to just kind of ask questions and be curious and let the universe present me with things as they come. I feel like that rewarded me with a new friend who I actually have a lot in common with and live right next door to now. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I'm really grateful to have met her, and I'm looking forward to getting to know her more and hanging out with her more. All right, and then finally, were there any other issues this week that you consider significant to your recovery? I think for this, I would say that being driven by motivation is not sustainable for me, and it can honestly hinder progress because I only really feel perfectly motivated for maybe 4 days out of the month. I don't remember exactly what the phrase is, but I know Julia talks at some point about resting in motion, and I have recently watched some videos too about how you can't necessarily depend on motivation or your mood to just always be perfect, because if that's what's fueling you, you're not going to be very productive, and you kind of need to operate on autopilot a little bit more, for lack of a better word. That might not be the best way to put it, but Essentially just doing things even if you don't feel like it. Same with inspiration. Like, I can't always rely on inspiration to get me to do a project or a painting. There has to be a consistent level of like, no, I just need to get this done today. I need to meet this small goal today. The results are going to vary, and that's okay, but those small steps are going to make much more of a difference towards my progress and a much more positive impact on my improvements than just waiting for the perfect day. So that's kind of been something that I'm continuously working on. All right. Finally, I wanted to share a couple things that I am excited about. So, as far as my paintings go, I finally got to frame a couple pieces, and I am thinking I might frame these mushrooms as well, which I never got to show on camera. I have a painting for a friend that I just finished the other day that I can't show on camera just in case she watches this because it's a surprise. I went to a craft market this past week as well, and it was incredibly encouraging and exciting to see so many other local artisans and get to chat with them about their passions. I have not done much writing lately, unfortunately, but that's something I hope to get back into the groove of this coming week. And finally, I am on the last module of my color theory course and just waiting to receive a few more materials in the mail so that I can follow along with the final painting, which is really big and scary, and I am excited and nervous at the same time. It looks very intimidating, but to be honest, I can't wait to get to try it and get my little certificate at the end for completing the course. And so, just to wrap up, I'm just going to say this is still really great. I constantly feel both inadequate and like I'm making huge improvements. I'm constantly hopeful, worried, and excited all at once about everything. But most of all, I know that I'm so blessed, even in a very scary world today. So, anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in week 10. Bye.